Good afternoon. We're back with more Marvel Champions, and today will be a card review of the Vision Hero Pack. This is the last hero pack of the 4th cycle, and then we are on to Sinister Motives. I liked the Mad Titan Shadow expansion, but the hero packs of this cycle have so far been a disappointment in terms of their power levels or new play styles or so forth. I guess Valkyrie kind of qualified as something new, but it was very weak. She was very weak. So we'll see what Vision brings to the table. He's got recovery 3, he's got hand size 5, so he's lower hand size than normal, which is never a good sign. While you are in dense mass form, you get +2 recovery. While you are in intangible mass form, you get +1 hand size. Okay, so back up to the normal hand size if you're in an intangible form. So looking at a multiple form hero. Setup, put your mass form upgrade into play, intangible side face up. Let's take a look at the form. So he starts with intangible side, so he does start with a 6 hand size. That's good. The Vision Hero side has 2 thwart, 0 attack, 0 defense. Change mass form by flipping your mass form upgrade over once per round. It's good that you don't have to flip between Alter Ego and Hero to do that. I didn't like that about Spectrum. Didn't really think it was necessary. Intangible, Vision cannot attack or defend. Reduce the amount of damage Vision takes from each attack by 2. Reduce the amount of damage Vision takes from each attack. Does that mean you have to defend with Vision in order to get the benefit of that? I think so, because it doesn't say reduce the amount of damage you take from each attack by 2. I'm going to look it up, though. No. It says right there he can't attack or defend. But you reduce the amount of damage he takes from each attack, so of course you don't have to defend in order to get the benefit of that. That would be silly. So he can't use his basic action, but he takes reduced damage. Okay. That's interesting. Dense form. While in hero form, Vision gets +2 attack, +2 defense. That gets him to 2/2/2. And after you change to this mass form, draw 1 card. Well, being in intangible form would negate the damage from most minions, because it's not that common that minions go above 2 attacks, so they can attack Vision and it won't do anything when he's in intangible form. That's quite strong. Quite strong. What is his hero form? Yeah, he's the standard 5 hand size. Okay. We're off to a good start, I would say. I like it. While you're in hero form, you play kind of normally, but you do get to draw a card when you flip to that form. And while you're in intangible form, you cannot attack. So you'd have to rely on allies to do it if you wanted to do any damage while in intangible form. His hero-specific ally is Vivian. 2 cost, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. While you are in intangible mass form, Vivian gets +2 thwart. While you are in dense mass form, Vivian gets +2 attack. Okay. So she gets 1 attack or 1 thwart for 3, and then a chump block. That's okay. It's a little bit worse than your average hero-specific ally. It's not bad, though, but I wouldn't say this is particularly strong, for sure. Just one attack or 1 thwart for 3, and then a chump block for 2. Cost isn't that great. Going back for just a second to intangible, The wording of this still confuses me. Vision cannot attack or defend. Reduce the amount of damage Vision takes from each attack by 2. I think this should probably read reduce the amount of damage you take from each attack by 2, because it still wouldn't apply to allies, right? But it would be more clear, and because typically if it says the hero's name on the card, it means they have to defend against the attack. But in this case, Vision cannot attack or defend, so that can't be what it means. Just a little bit confusing, but the wording and the rules around what is meant by you, or yeah, it's always been confusing and kind of counterintuitive. Moving on, we've got 616 Hickory Branch Lane. This is his typical alter ego support. 1 cost, exhaust this card, search your deck and discard pile for an android ally and add it to your hand. Okay, drawing a card is good. It's not a great card. Are there any other android allies in the game? I don't think so right now. But drawing a card is good. So it's okay, but typically these alter ego support cards get chucked to pay for other things, because we don't switch to alter ego more than once per game really, and at least in solo, and so you don't usually get enough value out of the alter ego support card to justify playing it, spending the resource plus the card. You wouldn't get anything for it right away in most games. And it's hard to justify really in solo, especially on higher difficulties. It's hard to justify playing any cards that you don't get something for right away, because we're almost always in crisis mode and needing value from the cards we play right away. Solar Gem, 2 cost upgrade. That's his resource generator, and he gains aerial. Okay, that's fine. It's a one-off. Vision's Cape, another 2 cost upgrade. While you're in dense mass form, you gain Retaliate 1. While you're in intangible, you gain Stalwart. Okay, so if you get stunned or confused and you have Vision's Cape out, you can flip your form to intangible and remove those things. And that's very good. How much value do you need to get out of this over the course of a game to make it worth it? Could retaliate 6 times, or retaliate like 2 times, and yeah, it says you gain retaliate 1. That's good. You could retaliate 2 times and chuck 1 stun or confuse, and this would be a good card. More than that would be a great card. If you get the opportunity to remove 2 status effects and retaliate a couple of times, it's exceptional. So it really depends on the scenario. This card will scale up the more difficult the scenario gets in terms of the stuns and confuses. If all you're doing is retaliating, you probably have to retaliate quite a lot to make this worth it, because 2 cost for retaliate 1 isn't that good. But if you take into account the removal of status effects, then it's pretty good, with the potential to be exceptional against certain scenarios. And we have Density Control, a 1 cost upgrade. After you change mass form, discard this card. Add a vision event from your discard pile to your hand. Okay. It's sort of a cycle card, but worse. I don't know if this gets played a lot. I guess you'd have to have something specific in mind that you would want in order to play this. Let's take a look at his events and see what the options are. So you get 2 of those density controls. So here's his first event. Solar Beam, 3 cost of vision is in dense mass form, deal 7 damage to an enemy. 3 cost for 7 isn't that good. For comparison, Doctor Strange's Bands of Kitaract is 2 cost for 7 and a stun. Spider-Man has Swinging Web Kick, 3 cost for 8. So 3 cost for 7 isn't that great. And then we have a thwart action if vision is an intangible, remove 5 threat. So that's the reason why it's a little bit underpowered, is because it has multiple options. We sacrifice power for versatility, and as I have mentioned in past card reviews, I don't really like that. For solo play, it's more of a team-oriented type of theme where you have heroes that are versatile but lack power. That's a team-oriented hero because they're designed to be able to use their versatility to fill in holes in the team composition. But you always give up a little power in order to do that. When you're not using the hero to fill in a hole in the team composition and you're just playing them solo, heroes that are versatile but somewhat lacking in power tend to be underpowered and not very playable in solo. And so this card is one in which you sacrifice a little bit of power for versatility, the ability to do either or. Neither removing 5 threat or dealing 7 damage is particularly worth it for 3 cost. So its power is in its versatility. It is a superpower, so Deft Focus could help with the cost. Density Control is a superpower as well. So Deft Focus could be something we want to run. We get 3 Solar Beams, so Super Dense Strike is a superpower as well. So I'd say Deft Focus is very, very likely to be and include in this deck, in a Vision deck. Super Dense Strike, 2 cost event. Play only if Vision is in dense mass form. Deal 5 damage to an enemy with Piercing. 5 damage for 2 cost isn't that great. Once again, this is a card in which you sacrifice a little bit of power in order to gain utility, the ability to go through toughness. And that is worth something. If you're going through a toughness, this card is pretty good. Not exceptional, but pretty good. If you're not going through a toughness, it's a little bit underpowered. So sacrificing power for utility, which kind of fits with the Solar Beam, in which you're sacrificing power for versatility. Just passing through, yet another superpower. So yeah, Deft Focus and Auto Include, card which generates a resource to use for a superpower card. Play only if Vision is in intangible mass form. Remove 3 threat from a scheme, ignoring the patrol word, keyword, and the crisis icon. So yeah, once again, 3 threat for 1 cost isn't that good. Sacrificing, again, a little bit of power for utility, the ability to ignore patrol or crisis. I haven't found that to be something that I need to do that often in solo. So yeah, with Vision being like a team-focused utility type hero, it looks like. I don't think we're looking at a hero that's going to be real good in solo. But of course we'll try him out. I like his defense ability and intangible. That'll be good in solo. Phase Disruption, 2 cost event. Play only if Vision is in intangible mass form. Confuse an enemy, choose an attachment on that enemy with the text hero action or hero response, and discard that attachment. That seems pretty strong. That may be the best event that he has. Doesn't provide any power up front, but you get a confusion and you get to get rid of an enemy attachment, and some of those can be hard to get rid of or expensive to get rid of, so this could actually be free. If you were planning on getting rid of an enemy attachment that was going to cost you 2 resources to get rid of, or even 3 resources, then this is an exceptional card because you get to pay 0 basically and confuse an enemy. So this is the best of his event cards in terms of the value that it gives for its cost. And we get just 1 of those, which makes sense. And then we've got Mass Increase. Play only if Vision is in dense mass form. When Vision defends, prevent all damage from that attack. Stun the attacking enemy after that attack resolves. A very strong card. Very good value for what the cost is. Prevent all damage and stun. Yeah, that's incredible value. This is an exceptional card. This is the best card in his kit. Phase Disruption is very good as well. The other cards all sacrifice, or the other events all sacrifice power for versatility or utility. And so Density Control is a versatility focused card. Doesn't provide anything right away for the cost, but it gives you the ability to go find the event that you need for any particular moment, which fits with the theme of Vision, which is utility. He's like a utility role player champion, and those tend not to be good in solo. He doesn't ramp up that hard. Vision's cape and his solar gem are the upgrades that you'll want, or the upgrade slash supports that you'll want. Deft focus as well. Seems like an auto include. But he's not a ramping hero. He's not a overwhelming power hero. He's a utility role player hero, it seems to me. With his solar beam versatility, his super dense strike with the piercing, the ability to ignore patrol or crisis, and then we have these two cards on the end, phase disruption and mass increase, which are very strong, with the ability to confuse and remove an attachment, though that's not going to be good against every scenario, because not every scenario has attachments that can be removed, but against certain scenarios this will be very strong. Just like Vision's cape will be very strong against certain scenarios, but not others. And mass increase is always going to be strong. So, overall, a utility role player hero, which I expect to be a little bit weak in solo play, but should fill the role of utility hero pretty well in multiplayer. Well enough to buy him? I don't know. He may be fun to play. We'll see. We'll try him out. Moving on to his aspect cards, we have Jocasta, the first protection ally in this set. 3 cost, 2 thwart, 1 attack. After Jocasta enters play, choose a defense event in your discard pile and attach it to her face down. You may play the event attached to Jocasta as if it were in your hand. Similar to Black Panther from the previous hero pack, I really don't see it with this ability. You get 1 thwart for 2 or 2 attacks for 2 and then a chump block. They seem to be, if that's all you got, this would be very overcosted for that value. So they seem to be attaching a lot of value to this ability to choose a defense event in your discard pile and play it again. That has combo potential, but I just don't see a lot of power in it based on the cards that are currently available to me. So I don't see this as an ally that I would run outside of its combo potential. You'd only want to run this with like a really high value defense event, and currently none of the aspect events for any aspect are really that high a value, with the potential exception of like Bring It On, but that can only be played once per phase. So I don't see it. It could be drawn with Vision's Hickory Lane card, his alter ego support card. Is that worth something? Not enough to play the card, I don't think. Protector, another android. 4 cost, 1 thwart, 3 attack, 3 health. When Protector would take any amount of damage, spend a science resource, reduce that amount by 1. Okay, so you could potentially, you can either attack once for 3, or if you spend a science resource, you can attack twice for 3. No. This isn't a good card. It offers you versatility, a way to spend extra resources. And if you do that, you could continue thwarting every round, but versatility at the expense of power or efficiency is not very good in solo against high difficulties, so I don't really think either of these allies are very good. And we have a third ally, Victor Mancha, another android, 2 cost 004. Reduce the amount of damage Victor takes from each attack by 1. So he provides 0 stats. But he can tank attacks. Alright, well, how many times would you need to tank an attack to make this card good value? Probably like 4 times. That is not easy to do. 4 times just to make him good, probably something like 6 times to make him exceptional. That's not easy. So I don't think this ally is very good. You'd have to tank like 6 attacks for 1 from minions, and if you're doing that, you're probably in trouble. If they're sticking around for so long because you can't kill them, or you probably would rather have allies that help you remove those minions as opposed to tanking their attacks over and over. So I don't think much of these allies from Vision's Hero Pack. I don't think any of them are very good. Flow Like Water. 2 cost, upgrade. After you play a defense card, deal 1 damage to the attacking enemy. Okay, if you could do that like 6 times in a game, it'd be good. Get 6 damage for 2 cost. That would be good. That's hard to do, though. That's a lot of defense cards. That would be a very long game, and you'd have to play this pretty early. You can only have 1 per player. So, yeah, I think that's probably too specific a response to happen often enough to make this good, but it may improve as the card pool expands and more defense cards become available that you want to play. Indomitable we've seen before. Defiance. When a boost card on an enemy attacking you would be turned face up, discarded instead. Sometimes it'll be good. If you're discarding a boost of 2 or more, it's good. Less than that is not that good, and you have no way of knowing in advance before you use it. So it's a high variance card. Could save your life. I think I'd probably run this if I was running defense protection events. It costs 0. I think I'd probably run this. It's never really going to be exceptional. But on average, it could be really, really strong if it like discards a boost card like Badoon, what's it called, from the Drang scenario, which brings itself into play, or any minion that brings itself into play, or any attachment that brings itself into play. If you're discarding that, well, then this card is exceptional. So it does have a ceiling that is quite high. I do think I would run it in a protection deck that's running defense events. I like this card. I think it's good. Yeah, and it scales up the more difficult the scenario gets, because the more difficult the scenario gets, the nastier the boost cards get. So against something like Rhino, if you're trying like Rhino Heroic 2 or something, or Heroic 3, maybe not, but against the harder scenarios, I think this becomes quite good. But kind of high variance. Sidestep. 1 cost, hero interrupt defense. When you would take any amount of damage, prevent 3 of that damage. If you paid for this card using a lightning resource, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Okay, that's good value for the cost. I like it. It's nothing exceptional, but it's good value. I might play this in something like the Venom protection deck that I've tried in the past and liked. I think it makes sense in that deck, along with Defiance. So it's good. It's nothing exceptional, but it's good. It's a good addition to the protection events. Get Behind Me we've seen before. Preservation we've seen before. Machine Man. 2 cost, 1/1, 3 health. When Machine Man attacks or thwarts, Spend up to 3 resources of any type. Machine Man gets +1 thwart and +1 attack for each resource spent this way. Well, no, it's not good. It's another ally that provides versatility at the expense of efficiency. You can scale up his thwarting or his attacking, scale up or down as needed, but that comes at the expense of efficiency because you're paying more resources in order to do it, and you're not paying resources in a way that is efficient because you're only getting 1 in value for each resource you spend when we would prefer 2 or 3 in value. And versatility cards are just not that good in solo because we usually need the power. We're not trying to fill in a role. We're not trying to fill in a blank spot in a team, something the team is missing because we're not on a team. It's just us, and we need power. For the higher difficulties, at least, we need power. So probably not for Machine Man in solo. And I'm seeing a theme with all of these Android allies. They all seem like utility or role-playing cards, which fits with the theme of Vision, a utility role-player hero. Avengers Mansion reboot. Ready a friendly android character and heal 1 damage from it. Not quite as much value as we'd like to see to consider this a good card, but our basic events never really are. They're meant to kind of fill in holes, but to be inefficient while doing it. The value cards always are hero cards or occasionally aspect cards, but we never really get high value basic events. Assault Training. 1 cost support. Uses 2 training counters. Exhaust this card and remove 1 training counter. Choose an aggression event in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. No, I don't see any value in this. At least at the moment it may have combo potential, but we don't get anything for it right away. And we can only use it in Alter Ego, which makes it extra difficult to use in solo. So, no thank you. Chance Encounter, 0 cost upgrade attached to a side scheme, 1 per scheme. When attached side scheme is defeated, search your deck and discard pile for an ally and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. Okay, so it's a cycle card. You spend it, you get 1 card from your deck or discard pile. It thins your deck, basically. Reduces RNG. Helps you get a critical ally out into play. It's fine. It's a card you might play to set up certain really high value combos, but other than that, probably not. So it's a combo enabler for a really high value ally, but otherwise probably doesn't get played. Joining Forces, a 4 cost event and alliance card. As a group, the players put a total of 1 Avenger ally and 1 Guardian ally into play from their hands. Oh, okay. Well, this seems very strong. All you really need is a total of 5 cost in allies to make this worth it. 5 cost in allies, you're basically looking at just a 2-for-1 resource generator, and those are always good. And this has the potential to go like 3 or 4 extra resources if you played 2 4-cost allies for this. This is phenomenal, especially since the players can pay this card's cost as a group. This could even be playable in solo. Not really. Because typically your hand size is 5, so you're not going to have an Avengers ally and a Guardian ally in addition to this card in your hand. So if you could do that, it would even be playable in solo, but you can't. But in multiplayer, this is very, very strong from 2-player on up, really, as long as you have Avengers and Guardian allies to play. And you might not, because the Guardian decks aren't that good. So if you have to run a kind of bad deck in order to make this work, maybe if you could run like a Gamora or a Nebula deck or a Venom deck, if you're running Venom, this could be very strong in a Venom deck, but typically Venom wants to run protection, I think. So The caveat of needing a Guardian ally is a limiting factor because I don't think the Guardians are that good. But if you are running a Guardian deck and an Avenger deck in the same group, then I think this card is an auto include if you have it, because I think it's very strong. The best of the Alliance cards that we've seen. Meditation, a zero cost event, alter ego, exhaust your alter ego, play a card from your hand, reducing its resource cost by 3. Oh, that's good, but we don't really want to be an alter ego, and I don't think this really makes it worth it by itself. If you got this on turn 1, it's good. But you'd have to run 3 of them in order to do that with any reliability at all. And you have to, oh actually, I take back what I said. You have to exhaust your alter ego to do it. So it does have a much higher cost than I thought. Yeah, it's not that good. Like most other basic events, it's not that good because you have to exhaust your alter ego. If you didn't, this would be quite good and would be very interesting. Because it would actually give you a reason to flip to alter ego. You could have a strong turn, but given that you have to exhaust your alter ego to do it, no, I don't think I'd really ever run this. Yeah, upon reading this card more carefully, no thank you. And is that it? That is it. Okay, well, interesting hero pack. Joining forces almost makes it worth the price of admission alone if you have a gaming group and you know that someone in your group typically likes to run a Guardian deck. Apart from that, what we're looking at here is a utility role player hero. And I tend not to like that type of hero very much. I don't think it's strong in solo at all. But in a team, I would rather, consider if you're really playing seriously, you're tackling like a Heroic 1 or Heroic 2 quest. Are you going to want like 3 power heroes and a utility role player hero, or are you going to want 4 power heroes? My feeling is you're typically going to want 4 power heroes. Vision does have strong utility against certain challenges, like a boss that stuns or confuses a lot, a boss that puts toughness out a lot, a boss that uses attachments. Vision does have some value plays, but are the value plays sufficient that you would rather run him over another really strong hero? Like, let's say you're running, what are the 4 best in the game right now? Let's say you're running Protection Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Ant-Man as your 3 heroes. Would you rather your 4th hero be something like Spider-Woman or Gamora, Venom, Adam Warlock, Nebula, or would you rather run Vision? It probably depends on the scenario. You could make a case for Vision as the 4th hero against certain scenarios. But I think if you've already got a group with 4 strong heroes, there's nothing really here. I don't see any reason to recommend that you replace one of your 4 heroes with Vision. Now, if you haven't already got 4 heroes and you're looking at which one, the 4th hero to buy, I'd rate Vision as like a B plus hero. I think I'd probably recommend Venom as the 4th strongest hero in the game. So we'd have like Protection Iron Man. No. We have 4 strong heroes, right? Protection Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Captain America, and Ant-Man. Those would be my top 4 picks with Venom on deck. And are any one of them worth replacing Vision with? Even against a scenario in which Vision would excel? My feeling is probably not. Probably not. So I would recommend him really only for fun or thematic reasons. as a utility role player hero. And this cycle, none of these heroes really are very good, in my opinion. At least not for solo. Nebula's fun. Nebula's fun and roughly equivalent to Gamora in strength. But none of these are really recommended buys. And in fact, we haven't really had one for quite a while, since Ant-Man, I guess. Ant-Man was the last S-tier hero. Vision's like an AAA+. Everything else has been a bit lackluster for a while. And not that many aspect cards that are really must-includes. But the Venom Hero Pack did bring a tech upgrade, which improved Iron Man and brings Protection Iron Man up to an S tier, in my opinion. So those are the top 4 heroes after Cycle 4, in my opinion. They would be Doctor Strange, Protection Iron Man, Captain America, and Ant-Man, with Venom on deck. So that would be the top 4, top 5, as of the end of Cycle 4, prior to Sinister Motives. So we'll test out Vision, and then we'll move on to the Sinister Motives expansion. And thank you for watching.